If you were to think about like a New Yorker cartoon talking about someone in therapy, what you would immediately imagine is someone laying down on a couch and a therapist asking them a question about their childhood. As tappers, it's really, really super good that we understand where the initial sensitizing events come from. But sometimes, if we get fixated on trying to find a past memory, it can actually get in the way. Today, we are going to talk about how do you start tapping and do I need to be worried about my past memories and how do I find them? Hi, my name is Gene Monterastelli. I'm the editor of tappingqanda.com. Welcome once again to the most commonly asked questions for new tappers. This is an opportunity for you to understand the basics. So as you're enjoying and going in on your tapping journey, we're able to answer the questions of some of the most common roadblocks that people have as they are engaging with tapping. Today, I have a question from Karen in Ohio, and the question reads, how do I get through my forgotten past when I'm trying to stay focused in my present? It makes it feel like I am struggling to answer something now when I can't remember what happened then. Now, this is a really good, thoughtful question. Oftentimes, in a lot of the EFT certifications and training programs, as you're working with clients and you're doing your practice sessions and you're taking your notes, one of the questions they ask are, what are the initial sensitizing events? What are the memories that cause this particular thing to happen? And this is a good, useful thing for us to be thinking about because sometimes understanding an initial sensitizing event or the thing that happened in the past that causes the way that we respond in the world now, to understand what happened in the past is actually a really good, useful thing, except when it's not. And it's not for a couple of reasons. The first reason is sometimes there isn't actually an initial sensitizing event. It is possible for us to have limiting beliefs, traumas, and things that hold us back that aren't specific experiences from our past. The two primary ways those things can be given to us is one, culturally. If we're in a circumstance where culturally there is a story that is told that is something that is always in the air, it's going to impact us. For example, the way that people are portrayed in media, they're almost always portrayed as young, as fit, as stylish, and we get this very particular definition of what's going on. One of the interesting changes in the last decade is not the fact that we have more body positivity, it's the fact that more men are actually suffering from feeling insecure about the way they look. And so one of the things that has happened through this conversation is not that we're making it safer, but we're actually making it worse, not only for women, but we're making it worse for men as well, where that wasn't something that was judged before, because we're constantly seeing these images of what's going on. And so I don't have this moment where I was 13 years old and I was at the swimming pool and a bunch of friends pointed at me because I was chubby. There's this thing that is in the air that is cultural, that is impacting the way that we navigate our days, that is teaching us how we act. Because that is the case, we can be in a circumstance where there's not an initial sensitizing event. The second thing that's also important to understand, and this is something that is new the last 15, 20 years, is that it is possible for trauma to be passed to us in an epigenetic way. And what that means is fears can literally be passed to us in our DNA. Mark Woland is doing some really amazing research on this. If you're interested more about this, there's a really great book called It Didn't Start With You, which will give you an opportunity to kind of unpack and look at the history and the research and that sort of stuff. But basically what could happen, very basic, very simple, is my father could have been in a circumstance where he was a teenager where he almost drowned. And because of that, he has a fear of water. Well, that fear of water can get encoded into the genetics that was passed on to me. Now, the good news is we can undo that. It's not like I'm stuck with that forever because it's in my DNA. But you'll notice when we're dealing with something that is cultural or we're dealing with something that's epigenetic, there isn't going to be an initial sensitizing event. The other problem with always looking for an event that is the trigger for these particular things is the fact that we are notoriously bad eyewitnesses to our own experience. That as humans, we are cause and effect machines. And we're always trying to figure out this happened, therefore, this is the consequences we navigate our way through this. Well, sometimes we come up with logical, coherent stories that are simply not true. I'll give you a perfect example of that. I had a client a number of years ago who came to work with me because she was afraid of speaking in public and she had to give a presentation at work. And it was not only important for work, but it was important for her career and she really wanted to get it right. And she showed up and we got in the call for the first session and he said, "Okay, Gene, this is what's going on. I'm afraid of speaking in public and I know why." I said, "Great, tell me about it." He said, "Well, when I was in grade school at show and tell, I brought my little hamster and it got away and it was running around the room and I was trying to catch it. All of the other kids in the class were laughing because it was so funny, but it felt like they're laughing at me. And that is the reason why I'm afraid to speak in public." And that is a great, coherent, logical story, except for the fact that as we worked, as we unpacked what was going on, it turned out that that was not the reason why. The reason she was nervous is it was the first time that her boss's boss was going to be in the room when she was giving a presentation. And so sometimes when we are seeking this initial sensitizing event, we can get too hung up in trying to figure that particular thing out. And so it's important that we give ourselves permission and we give ourselves the space to recognize that it is good and it is useful for me to find an event from my past, but it's not something I have to do. And if you're in a circumstance where there's a part of you that's longing and really wants to have that particular thing, I need to know what this is, tap on the desire to find an initial sensitizing event. Right now, I'm tapping, and there's a part of me that wants to find a memory that tells me why I am the way that I am. Because when I know that, I am healable, I am fixable, and it makes sense that I'm looking for that. And at the exact same time, I recognize the fact I can heal, I can transform without knowing that. If I need to know that, I give myself permission to access it. But if I don't need to know that to heal, or there might not be one, it is okay. And so you can see what I'm doing is I am responding to my desire and I'm speaking what that desire is. I want to know this because it's easier to heal and that's a good thing. But then I'm also speaking the other truth. Just because I don't know that, it's okay. Just because I'm not engaged with it, it's okay. I give myself permission to engage in a slightly different way. And so you'll notice that as we do this, what it does is it gives us the ability to navigate this in such a way that we're present to what is going on. So give yourself permission. You don't have to have the initial sensitizing event for two reasons. One is there might not be an essential initial sensitizing event. And number two is we can heal without having to know that information. And I love tapping on that. If there's something I need to know to heal, I give my subconscious mind to bring it forward. And if I don't need to know anything from my past, I give myself permission to just let it go and not have to worry about it until it is something that is useful and necessary. And so by engaging it in that particular way, it's going to make it so much easier for you. Again, this is another one of those circumstances where the key to having success with tapping isn't doing it perfectly, it's starting. And if you start and you start tapping on those particular things, it's going to make it so much easier for you to move forward. So I hope you found the answer to this question useful for those of you who are on your tapping journey. If you have a question that you'd like to ask to help yourself do that, drop us a note, support@tappingqanda.com, or leave it in the comment of any of our videos. We'd love to hear from you in that way. And as you're starting your tapping journey, on your screen right now, you will see a link to a whole playlist of most commonly asked questions for people new to tapping. This will make it easier for you to get more out of your tapping so much quicker. For Tapping Q&A, it's Gene Monterastelli. I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.